Well, here we are once again at Wood Shop Social here in Mount Pleasant, right next to CMU's campus. We're here with Chef Extraordinaire, Jim Wood, and we're doing something a little different this week because I actually asked you to make this because I wanted to get your take on a pasty, kind of a UP, Northern Michigan, deer camp, kind of a food. Have you ever made one of these before?
I have not.
And why is that?
I don't know. It just hasn't come across my radar.
Well, I don't know. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to get your take on that, or some of the more simple dishes that are out there. So when you start something like this, how do we start a pasty? What's the best way to do this?
Well, first of all, I think there's probably going to be some traditionalists that are watching this and aren't going to be super happy with me, but...
Well, that's normally the case.
Yes, for sure. However, I've never made them before. I've eaten plenty of them.
Okay.
So
are you going to make your own dough then, or?
Yeah, we are.
Is that something you could buy at the? Obviously, you could buy that at the store and start with that.
Yeah, I mean, you could use, Pillsbury pie dough or something like that, but
okay.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
It's not a super hard dough to make, especially if you have a food processor.
Okay, well, start me off here. How do we do this?
So first, we're just going to pulse the flour and the salt together just to get it mixed well. And then it gets cold butter.
A little bit of butter. What is that, a stick and a half?
No.
It's just a stick?
It's just a little over a stick.
Okay.
And then this is where things get a little screwy. So you can use lard, there's a lot of different things you can use. I think traditionally I probably used lard.
Okay.
We're actually using duck fat. So...
Now, can you get duck fat, or is this something?
You can actually go to Meijer and buy duck fat.
Oh, you can?
It's become pretty popular.
But you could use just lard, or...
You could, but here's the thing about duck fat. This actually has flavor.
Okay.
This actually tastes like...
Good?
Yeah, it tastes
Okay.
good. Picture like chicken thigh or turkey thighs at Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Just the smell and everything, it's good. All right, now we're going to add ice cold water. You don't want to melt anything in here because these things create a lot of friction.
Okay.
So if you start melting the butter, you're not going to get as much of a flaky pie crust as you might want.
Okay.
So you just want to shape it into a ball. Once again, you don't want to overwork it here.
And then how long would you typically have that sit?
So you want to put this in the refrigerator. Some people tell you an hour, some people say 2, some people say 3. Honestly, the longer the better.
So overnight would be
I would
good.
say overnight.
Okay, Jim, we got some dough that's, by the magic of editing, now ready to go. So walk us through our next few steps here.
All right, so this is where I think people are going to disagree with a lot of things that I'm doing.
Okay.
And that's fine. I'm not always right, but most of the time. So traditionally, this would have rutabaga in it. Rutabaga is super aggressive. It's really strong. It can really overpower a dish. I don't like using it a whole lot.
Okay.
Unless I'm cooking with just rutabaga.
Is that always in a? I mean, that's not always in a pasty, is it?
No, I mean it's not always, but a lot of times, a lot of
That is
recipes.
one to do. Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the root vegetables you're going to find.
Okay.
In this one, we went a little different route. We went carrots and potatoes, which is pretty traditional.
Yeah.
Parsnip, which is kind of traditional, and then we actually use celery root, which is another root vegetable. I really like the taste of a celery root, and when you mix it with potatoes, it's really good. So these are all raw.
Okay.
And they're just cut up into kind of
So we're not cooking anything before we actually stuff it? Okay.
Okay, we are actually.
Oh.
And this is where it might get a little sloppy for me too
Okay.
with some of the viewers. So normally this has raw onion that goes in it.
Okay.
When it's cooked inside of this, it's just going to steam and emit a bunch of water, and it's pointless to me. So we actually cook these onions down, which is going to give them a completely different flavor, a little sweeter.
Okay.
And then with the oil from the pan, we're going to add to that, and that's going to add a little bit of moisture to the cooking so it won't be as dry. Then we've got some venison here. Since this is going in raw, you want to use a little more tender cut.
Okay.
We're actually using tenderloin, not for any other reason, just because that's what I had around the restaurant.
Okay.
I don't know of a lot of people that are going to want to throw tenderloin in their pasty, but
Gotcha.
Win in Mount Pleasant, right?
If you got some spare stuff laying around.
That's right.
What's the folding technique here? Is there anything special to it? Just
No, just flop it over. So we're going to take a little bit of butter, and this, once again, is just to keep it moist. And so I'm going to give you my little gripe about pasties when I'm in the UP.
What's the matter?
When I go to the UP and have a pasty, they give you this giant pasty, and you're like, sweet, awesome. And they give you a little ramekin like this, full of gravy.
Okay.
I don't know how you're supposed to dip that in there. It doesn't even make sense to me.
So you're saying it needs more gravy?
What I'm saying is that why not just put the gravy inside the pasty?
Oh.
And I'm sure there's people up there cringing right now as they're watching this. But so we made some gravy here. This is venison gravy. And we're just going to put a little bit of it over top.
Wow.
And like I said, that's going to keep it moist during the cooking, and it's basically going to be like biting into venison stew. Which is the way I think a pasty should be.
Okay.
Because I've made them one time now, so I'm a purist.